I'm Joanna Small, your Public Information Officer for the Wheat Ridge Police Department. It's Friday, May 26th, and this is your WRPD Video Week in Review. Here's a summary of some of the most notable calls your Wheat Ridge patrol officers responded to over this past week, as well as some unresolved cases detectives could really use your eyes on. On May 25th, officers were called to a Wheat Ridge home where a 6-year-old girl found her mother passed out in the garage after ingesting fentanyl. The woman was transported to the hospital for treatment and is now facing child abuse charges as a result of this incident. Also on May 25th, officers responded to a disturbance in the 10,000 block of West 44th Avenue, and a woman was just getting into her vehicle to attempt to leave the scene when we arrived. She had a 3-month-old baby in the car and was found to be intoxicated. Family members responded to take care of the child, and Child Protective Services was also contacted. The woman is facing DUI and child abuse charges. Also overnight on May 25th, a group planned a car meet in the 3900 block of Wadsworth, according to intelligence gathered by our officers. Officers responded to the area and were able to deter the meet, which often leads to street racing and other kinds of dangerous and even deadly driving behavior. The group diverted to a lakeside location instead. Please remember that Wheat Ridge has a strict street racing ordinance that allows for civil seizure of vehicles involved in this kind of activity. Also overnight on May 25th, officers were patrolling in the area of I-70 and Kipling in search of a suspect with a no-bond felony warrant known to frequent that location. Once spotted, he fled on foot. After a chase, he was taken into custody, at which time he was found to be in possession of drugs as well as drug paraphernalia. He is now facing new charges for that and obstruction, and was jailed on his 2 outstanding warrants. On May 23rd, a woman was brought into the hospital on what's called an M1 or mental health hold from another facility. Staff at the hospital searched her upon arrival and located a firearm in her purse. That firearm was reported stolen out of Aurora during a strong arm robbery. The woman is now facing possession of a stolen firearm charges. On May 22nd, officers were dispatched to the 10,000 block of 44th Avenue for reports that it sounded like someone was cutting off a catalytic converter. Upon arrival, officers discovered a 1990 Chevy truck missing a catalytic converter. The vehicle also returned as being stolen out of Wheat Ridge from 2022. The registered owner was contacted. This is a great time to remind you we received a grant from CATPAW, the Colorado Auto Theft Prevention Authority, to host 2 etching events at Cypher Automotive, one June 3rd and the other on June 10th. We'll put a unique identifier on your catalytic converter for no charge to you, with the idea that it makes this car part less appealing to thieves, as it allows us to track it if someone attempts to sell it. We have set up an online sign-up. Register for a time slot today by finding the event on our Facebook page. The link has also been posted on Nextdoor. On May 22nd, a customer at a business in the 4800 block of Kipling grew impatient, waiting for another customer to fill sodas from the fountain for herself and her family, so he punched her in the head. The suspect fled the scene, but was later contacted and responded to the police department, where he is now facing assault charges for his actions. On May 21st, officers responded to a business in the 5900 block of West 38th Avenue for 2 suspects who had brandished a firearm and threatened a store employee who confronted them for stealing items. The employee knew the identity of the 2 suspects, and both have warrants for numerous felonies. The investigation into this crime is ongoing. A WRPD officer was on an unrelated contact in the 9700 block of West 49th, also on May 21st, when he was approached by someone who said 2 people were overdosing in an alley. Officers found a male and female unconscious and administered several doses of Narcan. Medics arrived and performed CPR. The male was revived, but unfortunately, the female was pronounced dead on the scene. The investigation into the party or parties responsible for supplying the drugs is continuing. Now here's a case detectives could really use your help in resolving, so please take a look at your screen. On May 22nd, a man and woman entered the Wheat Ridge Ulta and stole approximately $5,000 worth of high-end cosmetics and skincare products. They're believed to be the same 2 people who shoplifted from 3 other Ulta locations around the same time period. Security footage shows the man pointing to items and the woman concealing them under her skirt. If you believe you know their identities or where they may be staying, please reach out to our investigative team at the number that's listed there on your screen. We also highlighted 3 incidents patrol responded to over this past week as standalone posts on our social media pages. In the first, patrol officers arrested a man and woman for attempting to steal about $10,000 worth of goods from the King Soopers on Youngfield. It turns out this same pair is suspected as being responsible for about $200,000 in thefts from King Soopers alone around the Denver metro area. In the second, we told you about patrol contacting a wanted vehicle parked at one of our hotels in the Applewood Village area overnight Wednesday. The driver tried to take off but became high-centered. He had several warrants for his arrest as well as numerous guns in the truck. He is now facing a slew of charges to include possession of a weapon by a previous offender and criminal mischief. In that third incident, officers were attempting to take two people with known warrants into custody outside the 7-Eleven on Kipling. The male refused verbal commands and got into a physical altercation with one of our officers, headbutting him. A handgun was recovered from his waistband during that whole ordeal. He was also found to have a large amount of illegal drugs on him. He too is facing a number of charges to include second-degree assault on a peace officer, carrying a concealed weapon, and possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute. Once again, there were quite a few recovered stolen vehicles this past week, 8 of them in total. We also cracked down on dangerous driving behavior in areas where we've witnessed it and you've told us about it. In addition to the tickets our crash and traffic team issues, our patrol officers alone wrote approximately 35 citations for traffic infractions over this past week. Additionally, we proactively contacted people for lesser offenses like trespassing and jaywalking, which often leads to arrests for crimes like drugs, drug possession, and/or having outstanding warrants. That's all for now. We'll see you next time. And remember, if you need us, we are always just minutes away.